This presentation of Corsicar brought to you by Surfshark VPN.
The Plymouth Cricket. It's a car that was thought of and approved, that was designed, that was prepared for production, and a car that was then produced. In a massive factory nonetheless. Artists were tasked with creating illustrations of the car for adverts and supplementary materials. At least 2 employees must have spent days, weeks, months writing something as innocuous as the user manual for the Cricket. Market researchers, thousands of people were involved in making this thing a reality. Creating a finalized piece of engineering that could be bought with actual money by the people. After the combined effort of countless humans, the Cricket arrived in the United States at the tail end of 1970 to the sound of silence. In its first model year, Plymouth managed to ship about 27,000 Crickets, which is a big number, right? I mean, try doing 27,000 push-ups right now. Not very easy now, is it? Now try doing 270,000 push-ups, because that's approximately how many Vegas Chevrolet sold during the same time period. 10 times as many. In fact, Chevrolet was building as many cars in 1 hour as Plymouth managed to sell in 1 day. By the end of its short run in the beginning moments of 1973, just 41,000 Crickets had been built in total. In isolation, 41,000 is a big number, but it's something you have to put into context. The context here being that GM and Ford beat their ass. Sure, other cars with low production numbers exist, but most of them are intended to be produced in low numbers. You know, sports cars and halo cars or specific odd variants of existing models. The Cricket was none of those. It was a car. Mass-produced cars are supposed to be, you know, mass-produced, built in large quantities. Now, the amount of cars you can ultimately sell still depends on how many markets throughout the world you're targeting, or how many buyers in that specific segment there even are. Say, for example, you're trying to sell a mid-size pickup truck in North America from, I don't know, 2008 to 2012. I'd say, if you're ever in this situation, you should be looking at shipping at least approximately 8,864 trucks. That's a good baseline in my opinion. The Toyota Tacoma easily cleared that number, no worries there. Nissan's Frontier, also a very good performance. The Suzuki Equator, so close, so close. The Equator was Suzuki's attempt at making an American pickup, and by that I mean they took a Nissan Frontier and changed the front end. Over the course of 4 years, the company managed to shift about 8,863 of the things. A teeny tiny number, but a perfect reflection of the bigger issue, which was Suzuki's absolute inability to sell cars in the US and Canada. They had never managed to surpass being just a bit player in the market, and with yet another failure under their umbrella, Suzuki finally bowed out of most of North America in 2012. Now, if I had a massive failure like that on my hands, I'd probably want to hide it from the world, in which case my online security would be crucial. This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Whether it's making sure my info online is securely encrypted or just helping me access geo-blocked content, Surfshark has me covered in making the internet a safer place for me. You see, in my search for information, I stumbled across an old Australian forum site with precisely the info I was hunting down, until I clicked on it and found out I was blocked from seeing it. As it turned out, I wasn't Australian enough. That is, until I activated Surfshark and connected myself to an Australian VPN. Lo and behold, I gained immediate access to everything the website had tried to hide from me. Or I just use it to watch stuff on like Netflix that I couldn't otherwise. It's fast, it's secure, it's got the Corsicar seal of approval. Go to surfshark.com/Corsicar or use code Corsicar at checkout to gain 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN on the house. And hey, if you're not satisfied, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. The Equator was an example of an automaker trying to expand their presence in an important market segment, with its success perhaps hampered by it being sold in just 2 markets. This is a segue to the Lexus IS SportCross. You see, in the late 90s and early 2000s, Lexus took up the near impossible challenge of competing with the German sports sedan trio of the Audi A4, Mercedes C-Class, and most importantly of all, the BMW 3 Series. The IS offered 6-cylinder powertrains and rear-wheel drive, and starting in 2000, an estate version joined the range, dubbed SportCross. It had bigger wheels and fatter tires at the rear compared to the ones at the front. Estate cars were an important segment in Europe, so it was a wise move to introduce one themselves, except that they avoided calling it an estate car at all costs. According to Lexus,
The SportCross introduces new crossover styling, combining dynamic performance with 5-door versatility to create a new segment in the luxury car marketplace.
I guess I can see where they're coming from. It does perhaps feature proportions akin to those of a hatchback or even a shooting brake. But this just raises one small question. Why? The people who wanted a wagon. So if you tell the people wanting a wagon that your wagon isn't a wagon, they're not gonna get your wagon. And they didn't. Total sales numbers sit at, apparently, 3,078 units. So it's not hard to see why it gained the honor of becoming Lexus's first and last ever station wagon. Having said all of that, I see frightening parallels between the IS SportCross and something a bit more modern, the Genesis G70 shooting brake. As after 20 years, it seems the Koreans looked at this and decided to turn it on again. Both of these estate cars offered by Asian luxury divisions feature designs not quite in line with traditional examples of the body style. Just like the Lexus, the G70 features taillights split into multiple segments, with additional lights on the rear tailgate that are separate from the main units. And as was the case with the IS, Genesis tried to make a splash in Europe. So the first thing they did was make a wagon and then not call it a wagon. It's a shooting brake, that's all. Now, in the public numbers that Genesis reports, G70 sales are not differentiated between the sedan and wagon body styles, so there might be some misunderstanding involved in researching how many shooting brakes have actually been sold. But apparently, fewer than 2,000 units had been produced up until 2025. Oh mama, who could have possibly seen that coming? Don't act surprised when you'll see Genesis throwing it all away in the near future. Then again, it was offered in basically 4 countries. The thing has more taillights than it has markets it's sold in. So low numbers are to be expected, even more so when a car is available in just one place, and that place doesn't even have the strongest of car markets. I'm talking about Malaysia, dominated by its 2 national car makes, Perodua and Proton. There was also supposed to be a third one, but that seemingly disappeared like a fart in the wind. Anyway, in 2001, Proton took to the stage to unveil their entry in the fledgling MPV segment, the Chihuahua. This star-studded event included Malaysia's Prime Minister officially revealing the car, followed up by Malaysia's mighty man dragging the car on stage. You know, that guy who dragged the Boeing 737 by his hair. A national hero. Proton intended to take 60% of the MPV market segment with the car, translating to having to sell about 15,000 units each year. But right off the bat, those hopes and dreams were slashed in 2. You see, Proton had 2 distributors, Proton Adar and EON. Owing to some issues and controversies between the carmaker and EON that were going on at the time, only Proton Edar signed on to actually sell the Chihuahua through their dealer network. With all of this in mind, how do you think Proton's first and only rear-wheel drive car fared? Within 3 years did Proton manage to sell A. 3,414 cars, B. 3,415 cars, or C. 3,416 cars? Well, to everyone who chose B or A, you're wrong. 3,416 Chihuahuas made it out of the factory before being discontinued. Not really a shocker. And if you think about it, 3,000, that's still a big number. I mean, last August I nearly did that many steps in a single day. You won't really find entire production runs with just a few hundred cars built in total, so you have to start singling out specific versions, like the 1983 South African BMW 745i. This is not to be confused with the turbocharged 745i that was sold in Europe, as this one instead featured the naturally aspirated M88 engine, originally developed for the BMW M1, sort of. Additionally, there were M badges sprinkled throughout the car, conflicting with BMW's general policy of not making an M badge 7 series. Just 209 of these were produced, but I can go even lower. For in 2005, Ford of Australia updated their large luxury sedans for one last time, the Fairlane and LTD. It had been obvious for quite some time that the market for these large luxury cruisers was drying up, and as such, it came as no big surprise when in 2007 Ford pulled the plug on both the Fairlane and its more upmarket cousin, the LTD. For its final iteration, the BF model, Ford shipped a grand total of 153 Ford LTDs. So there we have it. The rarest, normal, everyday production car ever, right? Well, yeah, sure, whatever. This doesn't feel like a satisfying conclusion. Sure, the BF models received plenty of updates under the skin, but in the end they were still simply updated versions of the previous models. The high-end LTD was itself basically a higher-end version of a higher-end version of the Ford Falcon. And with just 2 years under its belt, it's no wonder this specialized luxury sedan sold in one market sold as few units as it did. We should instead be looking for something that, by all accounts, should not have become a rarity from the get-go. A car belonging to a popular segment, something that was sold worldwide by an established manufacturer, featuring glowing reviews from journalists and owners. No, not the NX. Let's go back to the 2000s again, when mid-size sedans were still popular means of transport. Let's go back to Suzuki again, who had gained a reputation for making affordable, small economy cars, and perhaps four-wheel drive SUVs. What they were not known for were large sedans. But hey, if all the other Japanese manufacturers had hit sedans in their lineups, why couldn't Suzuki have one? This was phase 3 in what Suzuki was calling their global strategy. The first phase had focused on sportiness with cars like the Swift and Grand Vitara. What? This is coming from their actual press release, I'm not making it up. The second phase focused on family-oriented user-friendliness and environmental compatibility, exemplified by models like the Splash. Following all of this, they were ready to move forward with the third phase, named Status. The Suzuki Kizashi came onto the D-segment scene in 2009, entering previously uncharted waters for them. This wasn't just some American or Japanese exclusive thing either. Parts of Europe got it, Australia and New Zealand got it, the Americas got it, the Middle East, Asia. This was a worldwide model. Pakistan began selling the car in early 2015, and less than a year later, Suzuki discontinued production of the Kizashi. Many things can be blamed for the death of this rather well-received and liked car. It seems to be a tradition for everyone to share their 2 cents, so me personally, I'm gonna blame the fact that Suzuki had come to be known as a maker of small cars. So to customers, this was weird. Concrete production numbers I couldn't find, but we do have snippets of the bigger picture. Cumulative sales in the US totaled a little over 20,000. Meanwhile, a total of 159 Kizashis were sold in the Netherlands, for example. With the info we have, I think it's pretty safe to say fewer than 100,000. You know what? It's safe to say fewer than 90,000. Wait, no! I'm going all in. Fewer than 80,000 Suzuki Kizashis left the factory. We looked at cars with lower numbers, definitely, but in context, this is catastrophic. But in the end, the rarest car is still the Corvette your college classmate owned. Don't forget to check out Surfshark VPN, and don't forget to thank every single new Corsa member personally. George Walker, Jack Mack, Mantas Valesinas, Andres Segarra, Swissberg Kultur, Cameron Moon, Harrison Yo, Yerhoo, Lunchtime Watches, Sour Taste Milk, XVJ, Twilight, Ivan Bankarov, Arthur DZ, Joaquin Mendoza, Penelope Doden, iSoccer, Felix Nerscher, Thomas Lee, George Rees, Niaji Murat Demir, FMO6, Say Motor, Sebastian Poblete, Scrubbington, C, Arctic Foam, Guy Tatler, Milan Grostenik, Volvo Man, Ben Sabartha, Selim Sebek, Ori Patria, Jesse Borkins, Liam Gaster, John Meyer, YouTube Rob, Razvan Gina, Shashank Hoskarar, Dima Girivel, Keegan Rhoda, Viorel Toma, Camille Kaul, Justin Hartman, Juan Bello, Ricardo Mendez, Snooty, My Adventure Minecraft, Ghost Warrior, Kira Rian, Johan Mart Salome, B, Black Parrot, Alexi GT, Dave, Marian, Ray, OG, Supreme Lord Geek, Tekwen, Missing Note, Sina, James Gibney, Seven, Vlad Nikarich, Ichiro Makoto, Roomba, Daniel Pasescu, E3210, Toto, Alp, Bastian Haring, Jan Schlata, Pavel Chlastasch, and Tim Franke. Check out Surfshark VPN.